Is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckeye Show with the Man Hour Short of manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page or check out the blog section as well. But if you're listening to us on podcast form, be sure to subscribe to that podcast. Like it with a couple friends. Share it with a couple friends, I should say. Like, comment, and subscribe. This is a live, interactive show. The only true place where you can get live, raw, and uncut NFL talk every Monday through Friday, 2:30 East Coast time, right here at Facebook.com and, of course, YouTube.com as well. As we go through these summer months here, the dog days of summer, they'd like to say, we are breaking down each and every NFL schedule moving forward. Last week, we did the AFC East. This week, we're venturing over to the AFC West. That is the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Chargers, the Denver Broncos, and, of course, the Las Vegas Raiders. Put some respect on their name because the Raiders are them. Not really. Not really. But today, here on Monday's show, we are going to be talking about the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers had a rough, lackluster couple years. Let's just be honest. Let's just be flat out honest about it. Last season, they finished the season rough. They finished the season real rough. From week 10 to week 18, they lost 8 of their last 9 games. They had losses versus Detroit, Packers, Ravens, Denver, Raiders, Buffalo Bills, Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs. All very, very horrible games. One of which was a Thursday night game versus the Las Vegas Raiders, 63-21. In 2023, the Los Angeles Chargers ended up finishing 5-12 on the NFL campaign. So we flash forward to 2024 NFL offseason. What did they do? They fired their head coach. They fired their general manager. They brought in Jim Harbaugh, bring in Joe Ortiz as their general manager, traded Keenan Allen, let Mike Williams walk. Actually, they traded him as well. They brought in pretty much a whole brand new offensive roster. When we look at their offensive roster right now, their quarterback is Justin Herbert. Running backs, they have a couple of old Baltimore Ravens running backs in here with Gus Edwards, Gus the Bus, and J.K. Dobbins. You know, the Joe Ortiz magic there happening. And then you got Joshua Palmer sitting at wide receiver, Quentin Johnson, and Ladd McConkey as well. Will Dissey has a little bit of tight end. And quite frankly, the Los Angeles Chargers guys might. No, not might. They do have one of the worst wide receiver cores in all of NFL. They have the worst NFL receiver core in all of NFL. Is right there in LA. So Chargers fans, let me ask you guys this question. Let's ask you guys flat out. Are the Chargers going to be any good this season whatsoever? Are the Chargers going to be able to hang with the likelihoods of the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders? Are they going to be able to hang with them at all? The one good thing that the Los Angeles Chargers have for them going this season is they do have a very, very favorable schedule. Their schedule is very favorable for them to win a lot of easy games. If they could win some of these easy games to start the season off, maybe some momentum gets happening. Maybe that confidence starts to build. Maybe, just maybe, they could pull out a 9-win season. Maybe, just maybe, they could pull out a 10-win season. Maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to, make the playoffs. But before we get too carried away into that, we have to talk about more of their offseason moves. Obviously, they let go Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, both were able to find other teams, Austin Eckler as well. This year in the draft, they drafted number 5 overall and drafted some Joe Alt, drafted the receiver Ladd McConkey as well, and then they went defense. Junior Colson, Justin, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, but they went some defense, right? They did some defense, and bada bing, bada boom. Okay, now we rolling. But I can tell you this right off the start. I do not like the Los Angeles Chargers this season. I don't think they're going to be very good. I think they're going to be lackluster at best. With that being said, let's jump into it. Week number one, right off the bat, they're at home, taking on the old mighty, that's right, the old mighty Las Vegas Raiders. We have spoke briefly about the Las Vegas Raiders. We have spoken about how I think they might not have a very good season. I've talked about, you know what, maybe, just maybe, the Chargers are not the real deal, or the Raiders are not the real deal like many of you people think they are. But week number 1, the Chargers might possibly have a home field advantage for the first time ever at SoFi Stadium. New general manager, new head coach, new running backs. The Chargers get the win week number 1. They pull it out 17-10. Nice slug it out, pounding on the ground game, because that's going to be a lot of the Chargers' MO this season. A lot of their MO this season is going to be run the ball a lot. Run it, and run it some more. Because like I said, they do have the worst receiving core in all of NFL. Patriots aren't worse. The Panthers aren't worse. The Ravens aren't worse. Worst receiver core is in Los Angeles, and that is with the LA Chargers. But they do start the season off 1-0, I should say. They do beat the Raiders. Give us a week 2 matchup. This week 2 matchup is very, very intriguing. They travel on the road to Carolina to take on Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. I have had the opportunity now to watch a little bit of Carolina's OTAs and minicamps to really start breaking down their season, because we're breaking down the NFC South here in a few weeks, so I want to get my ducks in a row. When I'm looking at the Carolina Panthers, they have one of the worst wide receiving cores out there as well. So basically it comes down to who has the better running game at this particular point. And as of right now, week 2, I do have the Chargers going into Carolina and winning this game. I do have them going into Carolina and starting off the season 2-0. However, let's put an asterisk by this week 2 game. Let's put a caveat in this week 2 game, right? This is a 1 o'clock kickoff time on the East Coast when the Chargers do play the Carolina Panthers. So in the bodies of those California people out there, it's about 10 o'clock in the morning. However, still young season, right? Still only week 2 of the season, so maybe that time isn't going to quite affect their bodies. But however, put an asterisk by that. If you're a betting man, think of a slow start for the Chargers. Think of a nice sluggish game. Going to be a really low-scoring game, probably 9-3, 9-6. No faith in the Carolina Panthers whatsoever. If you are a Carolina Panthers fan, I'm sorry. You guys got a lot of dog days ahead of you. We're going to find out who the real fans are here really, really quick. But however, the Chargers are 2-0 right now. Wins over the Raiders, wins over the Panthers, going into week 3 matchup versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The old mighty Pittsburgh Steelers. Who is their quarterback going to be? Could be Russ, could be Justin Fields, could be a mixture of both. But a wise man once said, if you think you have 2 quarterbacks, you have 0 quarterbacks. And Mike Tomlin is a wise old man. I've said it when we spoke about the Pittsburgh Steelers a little while ago with my man Steelberg. Be sure to go check him out on the old TikTok. Russell Wilson just doesn't have to suck for the Pittsburgh Steelers for them to be pretty good. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have a pretty good running back in Najee Harris. They probably have a top 10 wide receiver core. Everything that the Los Angeles Chargers do not have. The Los Angeles Chargers are lost all game long in Pittsburgh. They are lost from the first snap to the last snap. They just want to go home at this particular point. They have now traveled to the East Coast twice, 2 1 o'clock kickoffs games. They just want to get home. They want to get home and they want some fresh cooking, and they lose this game. It's going to be bad. It is going to be a bad, bad game for Justin Herbert. It's going to be a bad, bad game for that bad receiving core. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards might have 50, 60 yards apiece. But other than that, it's going to be ugly. Giving us a week 4 matchup. The matchup that we're all looking for, right? The matchup that we want to see. Back at home, SoFi Stadium, Kansas City Chiefs coming to town, reigning Super Bowl champions, taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I have the Chargers season going 2 ways here. If they win this game, I think they will have a winning season. If they lose this game, I think they will have a losing season. I think they'll have a bad season. Earlier today, I did have the Chargers stepping up and beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Earlier today, I did have Justin Herbert and Joshua Palmer and those guys knocking down the reigning Super Bowl champions, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, I might add. But was that trying to me being, not be the homer, right? I am a Chiefs fan right there. Chiefs Kingdom, baby, all day long. Was I trying to make it so, hey, I like the Chiefs, but, they're bound to drop one of these games. Then I went back, diagnosed some film, watched some film, watched the Los Angeles Chargers throw the deep ball, watched their defense during OTAs and minicamp. I don't think the Chargers can hang with the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think there's any way, shape, or form that the Los Angeles Chargers can hang with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs will have a top 3 defense in the NFL. The Chiefs do still have Patrick Mahomes. They've gotten better this offseason. Yes, they did lose Snead, right? But hey, addition by subtraction, just like with Tyreek Hill. Addition by subtraction. I do have the Chargers losing this season, going 2-2 on the season so far, going into a week 5 bye week. Early bye week is bad news for the LA Chargers. Now, they did have a couple rough games. Maybe a bye week is what they needed. Okay, let's track that back. They're 2-2 on the season. Wins over the Raiders, wins over the Panthers, bad loss versus the Steelers, and then a close loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe they just need a bye week and reset. Maybe old Jim Harbaugh needs to, reel it in a little bit. Maybe Jim Ortiz is out there trying to make some type of in-season trade. We know with the Baltimore Ravens, he liked to make some in-season trades. Maybe right now they're testing the wide receiver market. Who was out there? Our wide receiver core is terrible. Who was out there? Who was willing to maybe give us a receiver for a second-round pick, third-round pick? Who was out there? I think there's going to be a lot of movement come week 5, and all that starts to get underneath the team's skin. All that kind of starts to upset the team a little bit. Maybe laser focus, right? Give us the week 6 matchup. AFC West division rivals. Chargers travel to Mile High Stadium to take on the Denver Broncos. One thing about the Denver Broncos is they do have a true home field advantage. When you go from sea level to a mile high above sea level, there is a huge altitude change. It's harder to breathe. You just feel sluggish. You might feel sick, right? Hopefully, Jim Harbaugh gets the boys there a few days early to acclimate. But I don't think it really matters because the Broncos are not going to be that good. The Broncos are just going to shit the bed in this one. At this particular point in the season, the Broncos may not even know who their starting quarterback is. Is it Jarrett Stidham? Is it Bo Nix? Is it Zach Wilson? Who is it going to be? We'll be talking with my man Mark from NFL Experts here on Wednesday, so maybe he can get some insights on it, but I think the Chargers win this game. They snapped a 2-game losing streak, giving a win over the Denver Broncos, making them 3-2 on the season, going into a Week 7 matchup back on the road versus Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are a team that could be a lot of what-ifs, right? What if Kyler Murray is the former shell of himself prior to his ACL injury? What if Marvin Harrison Jr. is the man, the myth, the legend? What if they can actually play some defense? What if, right? And right now, the what ifs are outweighing a lot of the knowns for the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be that good this season either. I think they are a bottom feeder team as well, much like the Chargers. But I do think the Chargers win this Week 7 matchup versus the Arizona Cardinals, giving them their 4th win of the season. They are now 4-2. 2 games, 2 wins in a row. Looking pretty nice, right? Pretty nice. However, records lie. Records lie. The Chargers at the particular point might be 4-2. Might be first place in the AFC West, but records lie. What do I mean by that? I mean that they have played some pretty easy games. Let's just be flat out honest about it. They played some easy games. They played the Raiders. They played the Panthers. They played the Broncos. And they played the Cardinals. All very winnable games. This next stretch of games, this week 9 through week 16, it is tough. You are going to have to really love your Los Angeles Chargers to be talking any positive about them moving forward whatsoever. Receiving core is going to get exposed. Justin Herbert's going to get exposed. That defense is going to get walked all over. Jim Harbaugh is going to be questioning his life going from Michigan to L.A. Jim Ortiz is going to be like, Joe Ortiz is going to be like, why did I leave Baltimore to come here? First of this stretch here is the Saints. Derek Carr comes into town, whoops that ass. It's not even close. Week 9, they travel to Cleveland to take on to Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. That game is not even a slugfest. It is a one-hitter quitter for the Browns. 2 losses in a row. Week 10, back at home, taking on Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans. A much-improved Tennessee Titans team. A Tennessee Titans team that you probably don't want to play. A Tennessee Titans team that's pretty good in my eyes. Pretty good. Let me bring my schedule back up here. They lose that game. 3 losses in a row now. Losses to the Saints. Losses to the Browns. Loss to the Titans. Give us a Week 11 matchup versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Guess what? That's another loss. Yet another loss for the old mighty Los Angeles Chargers. But you're thinking at some point, it's got to get easier, right? It's got to get easier for the Los Angeles Chargers. They played the Browns, Titans, and Bengals all back-to-back weeks. No, it doesn't. Give us a Week 12 matchup versus at least it's at home, versus Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. This is another one-hitter quitter. Lamar Jackson and the rest of the team is just way too much for the LA Chargers at this particular point. The Chargers now have 5 losses in a row. Okay. It's got to get better. Let's go back out to the West Coast, huh? Let's go back out to the West Coast and play another 1 o'clock game. Their third 1 o'clock game here on the West Coast. So far, they're 1-1 on the West Coast at 1 o'clock games. Well, guess what? They're going to be 1-2. Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons is too much for the Chargers in Week 13. Week 13 is not lucky for the Chargers and this one dropping their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th game in a row. Okay. Week 14's got to get easier, right? It's got to get easier. Nope. You play a Sunday night football game at Arrowhead on December 8th. Early December, Sunday night football game at Arrowhead. Not only is that place going to be loud, it's going to be pretty chilly. You're from California. You don't like cold. Chiefs fans are going to be rowdy, drunk, and their cousins are going to be all over there. It's going to be a whole family reunion. Yeah, you may have battled the Chiefs earlier back in, Week 4? Played it pretty close. Let's say 2017. Confidence was sky high then. Well, right now, gosh, confidence is so low right now. 6 losses in a row. You can't even lay your head on the pillow right at this particular point. Justin Herbert might be benched. They may have cleaned house on the receiver corps. You guys are terrible. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are the only bright spots and only getting 40 yards a game. They get beat down by the Kansas City Chiefs. Making it 7 losses in a row. Okay. Week 15. Let's go back home. give us something at this point, right? Let's get a break. No. Next up, you play a damn good Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. You play a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that, quote, shocked some people last season. If you listen to the Man Hour, which you should, I told you the Buccaneers were going to go to the playoffs. I told you the Buccaneers may make a deep playoff run. Baker Mayfield's the man, the myth, the legend. The Buccaneers solidified that. They let you know that Baker Mayfield is their guy moving forward by his nice contract. The Buccaneers still have a receiver by the name of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They still have a pretty good offensive line. Their defense is aging, but still pretty damn good. Still too much for the Chargers. Still too much for the Chargers. That's now 8 losses in a row. That's 8 losses in a row now. Like, what is going on at this point? What's going on? Chargers, do something. Okay. Let's welcome Denver Broncos into town. Let's welcome them into town. Maybe, just maybe, we can finally beat a team. The Denver Broncos, we have already beat them once this season. Let's make it twice. Let's make it twice and see what happens. Well, guess what? Not only do you lose to the Denver Broncos, you have now lost 9 games in a row. You are looking terrible. You're questioning life. You are questioning a lot of aspects of your life right now. Like, what do we do? 9 losses in a row, starting with the Saints back in week 7, 8, going all the way to week 16. What? Losses to the Saints, Browns, Titans, Bengals, Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs, Buccaneers, and now the Denver Broncos all in a row. Week 17, give us something. Give us something. Actually, you don't want to win at this point. At this point, you only have 4 wins on the season. You might get a first overall pick. Let's go to Foxborough and just lay an egg. We've been doing it for the last 12 weeks. Why not do it again? But you don't. When you want to lose, you decide to win, and you beat the New England Patriots. It might be a 6-3 score, but you win. When we talk about bad receiving cores, the bottom 5 of the league, guess who two are there? The Patriots and the Chargers. You're just that much worse than the Patriots at the particular point. But hey, you get the win. You get the win. Give us a Week 18 matchup. Final game of the season. The loser gets the first overall pick. Wasn't it a couple years ago, guys, when the Chargers and the Raiders were both battling for the playoffs, and I believe it was the Chargers coach like, "Hey, let's just tie. We both make it," and the Chargers lose this game, and people are like, "Oh, that's dumb, whatever." Right? Ever since then, the Chargers have kind of been cursed. They've been cursed, and Week 18, they do beat the Las Vegas Raiders. Not only do they not get the first overall pick, they're now picking like 6th or 7th. 6th or 7th. And I'm giving them a 6-11 record. I think the Chargers finished 6-11 this season, and they dropped 9 games in a row. 9 games in a row. But I want you guys to flash back to the Week 4 game. That Week 4 game versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Right? My eyes are burning. Like I said earlier, that Kansas City Chiefs game could make or break their season. Earlier today, I did have the Kansas City Chiefs beating or losing to the Chargers. But last second, right before the show came on, I was like, no. That's not going to happen. But I had them going 6-11 on this NFL season. Let me know what you guys think. We got my man WB Ant in the chat. He says, on paper, the Chargers look good and they have a new coach, but they definitely got a tough schedule. Where on paper do the Chargers look good, Ant? Show me where. The running back room with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards? Aren't they both coming off ACL injuries? The only bright spot of the Chargers is potentially Justin Herbert. Yes, you got Samuel Jr. in the secondary, right? You got Derwin James in the secondary. But besides that, who? I mean, I guess you could throw Joey Bosa in there, right? But if I am any NFL team, if I have a running play called to Joey Bosa's side, I want to say kill, 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 and check it and run the other way. Nowhere do the Chargers look good on paper, Ant. Now, I guess you could talk potential. Potential Ladd McConkey can do well if he's healthy. Potential Joshua Palmer could be good if he's healthy. Quentin Johnson, yes, he was buried by Keenan Allen and Mike Williams last season. We don't really know what he's got. I think the Chargers are the worst team on paper, offensive-wise. Defense, they do got a couple bright spots. Joey Bosa, obviously. Derwin James, I think he could be okay. But to say they look good on paper? Slow it down, baby. Slow it down. And as far as their schedule, the hardest part about their schedule is kind of traveling west. Travel west versus the Panthers, Steelers, and the Patriots. And then they also play the, what's the other 1 o'clock game that they play on the east coast there? Is it the Steelers? It's the Bengals, isn't it? Yeah, nope. Yeah, Cleveland. I see a stretch between, what is that? Week 16 to week 9, 8. That's a tough-ass schedule. That is a tough-ass schedule. And they're not very good. I don't care about the head coach. I don't care about the GM. They're not very good. Casey Morgan's in the chat. What's up, Casey? He says, Chargers are always that team looks good on paper, then pick to win the division, but when it comes down to game time, fans are poking them with the stick, hoping they do something. Facts. Facts. Now, in Chargers fans' defense, they did have arguably one of the worst coaches of all time. I gotta remember their old coach's name. How did he completely have a job after those blunders last 2-3 seasons is beyond me. Were they afraid to fire him or what? I don't know. But yes, the Chargers historically have had a pretty good team on roster. You get on the field, 5-12, 7-10. That's about it. WBN says Gus Edwards is solid. Solid quarterback, Bosa and Mack. Solid secondary. They beefed up the old line. They have a young receiver core, just got to develop. I'm pretty sure Khalil Mack is no longer on the team. I believe they had traded Khalil Mack, if I'm not mistaken. No, he's still there. I lied. They have him listed as a strong side linebacker. So that is my question. So they're going from a 3-4. I mean, they're running a 3-4, which Khalil Mack usually walks up. I don't know. Khalil Mack's what, 32, 33 years old? How old is Khalil Mack? 33 years old. Getting a little long in the tooth. He did have a pretty good season last year, right? Wasn't it one game he had like 5 sacks or something? Something crazy. But let me know what you guys think. I have the Chargers going 6-11 on the season. Spoiler alert, at first I had them going 8-9. But I flip-flopped the Chiefs win from week 4. And then I flip-flopped the Broncos week 16. So I did flip those two. I think pre-show my gut instincts like no. But let me know what you guys think. Until then, we out.
We keep it interesting. Who caught another down? Who got that interception? This is Man Hour and Sport Talk. Man Hour, Sport Talk. What team you reppin'? We keep it interesting. Who caught another down? Who got that interception? Let's go.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Boykosh here with the Man Hour. Be sure to head over to manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page. But most importantly, check out the blog section. We got new and blogs dropping each and every day over there. And this is Tuesday edition as we continue our trek through the NFL. And we're making a stop on the AFC West. We talked a little bit about the Chargers yesterday afternoon, so if you missed that, you can check it out on podcast form out there on Spotify, iTunes, and of course, iHeartRadio as well. Simply search Man Hour NFL Talk. 4 words there, man space, hour spash, NFL spash talk. You know what to do, but today we're talking about the reigning Super Bowl champions, the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, the 3-time, no, make it 4-time Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Now, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs have had a pretty crazy offseason. They're cutting players. Players are getting arrested. Rashid Rice is racing and driving drunk. But that is besides the point. Let's flash back to 2023. The Kansas City Chiefs did finish the season 11-6. Started the year off rough with the loss to the Detroit Lions, but then they rattled off wins over the Jaguars, Bears, Jets, Vikings, Broncos, and Chargers. Ultimately losing to the Denver Broncos at Mile High, and then going across the pond and beating the Miami Dolphins. Hit a rough patch of the season. November and December was pretty rough. But January, they turned it on, and they beat the 7th seed, let's use air quotes there, 7th seed Miami Dolphins in the wild card, beat the Buffalo Bills in the division round at Buffalo, went to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens in the conference championship game, won that game 17-10, and ultimately went to the Super Bowl to take on the San Francisco 49ers and beat them 22-25 in overtime. This year, they went out in the draft. They got themselves a wide receiver by the name of Xavier Worthy, the fastest man in the draft, the fastest 40 time ever. Maybe he can take place for Tyreek Hill, with those deep down threats. They also added some offensive line depth, added some tight end help, and they also drafted a player that I'm pretty excited about, Jaden Hicks, Washington State safety, to maybe replace Xavier Sneed in there. So they had a turbulent offseason. They had a pretty good draft. They had a hell of a 2023, but 2024 is here. 2024 is here, and we are going to talk all about it. But before we start talking about it, we got to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Pigskin Pundit himself, John freaking Peoples is in the chat. He says that's what they do, is they pick fleas off the queefs. I'm not for sure what you're talking about, but I don't know. There's a lot of comments scrolling in, and I saw John. I had to pull it up, and apparently Chiefs have fleas, and I guess the Raiders pick it off. I don't know. The CFO of the Pigskin Pundit, my man Jim Powell, is in the chat. He says, I see you're smelling your fingers. I'll need to know what you've been doing. I've been picking dingleberries all day long, babe. Woo! Smells like championship to me, but it is what it is. If you guys notice, Jim and John both have diamonds and hearts next to the name. Is that because they are Pigskin Pundits? If you guys would like to become a Pigskin Pundit, simply click on the link below. Subscribe to the channel. You get some merchandise. Look at this nice member. Get Jim's comments off it. You got the nice members only merch here. We got hoodies. We got hats. Of course, you get pre-show. You get some random footages every now and then. And of course, you get to watch any NFL game you want on Sundays. You say, hey, Buck, I don't got the Raiders game in my area. Can you air it? Bada bing, bada boom. I can for you, Mr. Pigskin Pundit. So be like John and Jim and become Pigskin Pundits. It is. John says, and always remember that the Kansas City Chiefs smell like vinegar. Whatever the hell that means. Whatever that means. It is what it is. But guys, this is a live, interactive show. Live, raw, uncut NFL talk. So I see all the comments. If you guys want to pop up, if you want to chit-chat, if you want to talk your shit, get down in the comments and talk your shit down below. But John, people thinks the Kansas City Chiefs going 8-9 this season. 8-9 this season. Okay. Casey Morgan says the only team that can derail the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I have to concur with that. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have one hell of a season. My man Timothy Nicholas in the chat says, Jim, LOL. Low on that, Jim. And Jim says, if you watch the clip I posted on AFC West Tax Talk group, Kelsey wants to be a Raider. Nobody wants to be a Raider, Jim. Not even the Raiders want to be a Raiders. YSR Games Grams is in the chase. Says Detroit Lions all day, baby. We already broke down the Detroit Lions, but hey, they are pretty good. Timothy Nicola thinks the Chiefs are going to go 10-7 this season. But guys, post your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you guys think the Chiefs are going to go this season? I've seen 8-9. I see 10-7. But it is time to get into the nuts and bolts of today's show. It is time to break down this 2024 campaign for the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I said, the Kansas City Chiefs went 11-6 last season. They won the Super Bowl, back-to-back Super Bowl champions. But this season, I think they're going to be kind of a much of the same path, right? I think they're really going to go in the right direction this season. Now, their schedule is a little favorable, I want to say, if you just look at it on paper, but they play 6 days of the week this season. I think the only day they don't play this year is like a Tuesday. So they're playing Wednesday versus the Steelers. They're playing Thursday. They're playing Friday on Christmas, right? Then they're playing Saturday. They're playing Sunday. Of course, they're playing Monday night. It's just, they are all over the board. 6 days this week. So that 6 days this season they play on, you guys know what I'm trying to say. They play a lot of different days this season. So that might be the ultimately Achilles heel for the Kansas City Chiefs. But week one, they started off the season reigning Super Bowl champions, welcoming the Baltimore Ravens into town. Now, many people are skeptical about this game. We saw it last year, right? A lot of hype around this Detroit Lions team last season. They come into Arrowhead and they kind of just thumped the Kansas City Chiefs on opening night, kind of shocking the world, right? I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be ready this season. I think they are not going to be overlooking anybody. They are going to really welcome in the critics and the haters and all this stuff. And it starts week one when they thump Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're going to beat down the Baltimore Ravens week one. It is not going to be pretty. You can have King Henry. You can have Lamar Jackson. You can have John Harbaugh. You can have whoever you want on that defense. But the simple fact of the matter, the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead, opening night this season, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, going for a three-peat. They're going to be ready, and they're going to be knocking on that door, and they're going to knock the Baltimore Ravens around to show them that last season, last AFC Championship game was not a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. We are going to nail you guys down. Give me a week one win with the Baltimore Ravens over the Kansas City Chiefs. I said that wrong. Kansas City Chiefs beat down Baltimore Ravens. What do you guys think? Week two, another tough game, but they're still at home. They got a nice 10-day break in between this Ravens and Baltimore game, right? They do play the AFC North. I think the AFC North is going to be the best division in football. I think the AFC West is going to be one of the worst divisions in football. We'll be talking about that more on Friday. But week two, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals come into town. There is a lot of pressure on the Cincinnati Bengals in 2024 to win. There is a lot of pressure on them to win right now. And that pressure is going to make them play a little tight. That pressure is going to make them feel like they have to force and win these big games versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I do think they match up very, very well. I think the Bengals and the Chiefs match up very well. But because of the tightness, because of the less of the loosey-goosey that the Joe Burrow and the boys need to do to win games, they're going to lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are not going to beat the Bengals in this game. The Bengals are going to lose this game, meaning a late, arrogant pick six, a fumble at the end of the game, maybe a missed special teams execution, right? The Bengals are going to be a pretty good team. They have to win right now, but that pressure is going to make them collapse week 2, and Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs, they've been there. They've done that. It is what it is. The Chiefs start the season off 2-0. Casey Morgan thinks the Chiefs are going to go 13-3 on the season. Hopefully there's no tie. Hopefully he meant 13-4. Hopefully. John thinks they're going to go 4-13. Get out of here with that crap. Timothy Nicola thinks the Lions overachieved in 2023. Potentially. We will talk more about the Lions coming up here in the upcoming weeks when we do break down the NFC North again. Got to get my man Luke G back on and talk some more Detroit Lions. My man Mark is in the chat. Mark D is in the chat. He says, what up, Buck? Can't wait for later tonight. We will be talking about the Denver Broncos guys coming up on Thursday. Mark from the NFL Experts will be joining on us. And Timothy says there's a lot of pressure on the Chiefs to repeat. Mahomes running his mouth too much. So I'm glad you brought this up, Timothy, because I do not think the Chiefs cannot handle the pressure that they're putting on themselves. I think there is a method behind the madness of why Patrick Mahomes is talking, why Travis Kelce, even before the Super Bowl parade started, they're like, three-peat. It's time for us to focus. It's because sometimes in the offseason, when you've been there and you've done that, right? The Kansas City Chiefs now in recent memory have done it 3 times, right? It was 3 out of the last 5 years. They have done it. With that being said, sometimes you got to have that added motivation to really carry on into this offseason, to really carry on into the dog days of summer like we are right now, to really carry on through the preseason. I don't think they're adding any pressure to the Kansas City Chiefs whatsoever. If anything, this is good laser focus, right? Meaning good pressure for them is going to help them succeed. Now, if they weren't talking, if they were comfortable, like, hey, you know what? It is what it is. We're just out here coasting. We're out here having a good time. I mean, they're already having a good time. Isn't Travis Kelce in like Europe with what's-her-face, Tay Banks, right? But I think this running on the mouth is good. I think the pressure is good for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it is awesome for them. Give me the pressure, and I will succeed. Jim says, I'm back. What I miss? I had to take Mahomes and wipe my Andy Reid. So far, the Chiefs are 2-0 on this young season with win over the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. Week 3. This is a game where I think a hiccup might occur. This is a game where I think the Kansas City Chiefs are kind of overlooking said opponent. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs have the ability to overlook the opponent and still win, but at the same time, still look bad, right? Kind of like what they did Christmas Day last season. John and Jim will never let me live that down. Christmas Day. The Chiefs were like, you know what? The Raiders suck. Whatever. It is what it is. We just need to get ourselves right. But I think this week 3 game is when the Chiefs overlook the Atlanta Falcons. I think this week 3 game, like Casey Morgan just said, is a trap game. I think the Falcons are going to be better than a lot of people want to admit. I think the Falcons are going to be kind of shocking the world like the Detroit Lions did last season. I do think the Kansas City Chiefs drop a close one in Atlanta versus Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. I think it is a really, really ugly game. I think this is a game that we kind of wish we could just like white out on the schedule. Week 3, traveling to a not good Atlanta Falcons team on paper. Come on. Give us a week 4 matchup. Back on the road. Taking on the Chargers. Justin Herbert and the Chargers. We spoke on the Chargers yesterday. I told you guys how bad the Chargers wide receiver core is. I told you how bad that offense is going to be. I told you how overrated Justin Herbert is. And the Kansas City Chiefs exposed that every stretch of the imagination. The Kansas City Chiefs are pissed off after that Atlanta Falcons game. The Kansas City Chiefs are upset that they went to Atlanta and they laid an egg. Then they're going to go to SoFi Stadium in LA and they are going to drop the wood. 63-point them. 60-piece them. Put it up. As my man Sonic says, speed me up, speed me up. Because that is what Xavier Worthy is going to be doing up and down on the field. Patrick Mahomes is going to throw over 500-plus yards. Jay Pacheco might rush for 120 plus another 100 yards out of the backfield. Travis Kelce might find the end zone 3 or 4 times. They're going to walk all over the LA Chargers this Week 4 game. Week 4 game, they're going to basically do what Casey just said. The Chargers are imploding this year, full rebuild next year. This implosion is going to be starting by the Kansas City Chiefs by the epic beatdown that they're going to take Week 4. Giving us a 3-1 record going into Week 5, taking on Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints finally back at home. Now, this is a game earlier today when I was doing my post for the schedule, right? I initially had the Chiefs winning this game. Then I was like, big win over the Chargers, bye week next week. Are we overlooking the Saints, looking forward to a bye week, looking forward to the San Francisco 49ers the following week? I'm like, okay, maybe the Saints. But then I got to thinking, Derek Carr, has he ever beaten the Kansas City Chiefs? When Derek Carr was a part of the Las Vegas Raiders, did he ever beat the Kansas City Chiefs? And I don't think he did. Looking at the Saints roster, yes, they do have Alvin Kamara still. But who are their receivers still? Chris Olave? That's about it, right? Cedric Wilson Jr., former Kansas City Chief like 5 teams ago. The Saints are going to be kind of a bust of a team this year, I think. I think many people think that the Saints are going to, potentially make a playoff push. Potentially upset the Bucs and the Falcons, right? But I do think this is a close game. I do think this is a battling back and forth game. I do think Derek Carr puts on his best front, but the Kansas City Chiefs defense and the offense is just too much for the New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr. The Chiefs pull this one out, 27-25 type of score. It's going to be a very, very close one-score game. Moving the Chiefs to 4-1 going into the bye week, week 6. Jim Powell says Kelce is not going to do anything. He is enjoying dressing up like Mr. Peanut and putting on makeup on Tay-Tay. I wouldn't say that, but I'm worried about Father Time for Travis Kelce. There is a reason why the Kansas City Chiefs drafted a tight end this season. Travis Kelce's days are numbered. Not because of Taylor Swift, not because of off-the-field issues, just because Father Time is still undefeated. He's a tight end. He gets beat up a lot. Yes, last year was the first game he missed ever in his NFL career. But at the end of the day, he's a tight end. He takes a lot of beating. Week 6 is going to be a good bye week for them. My biggest concern about this bye week, Rashid Rice. I feel that Rashid Rice is probably going to get suspended for 6 games at some point this season. I feel that a suspension is looming. Yes, I know he hasn't been convicted of anything yet. He has a lot of hush money out there. A lot of, I didn't do that. Here's $1 million, right? But this bye week could make or break the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopefully everybody stays healthy, keeps their nose clean, comes out unscathed, comes out unsuspended. Give us a week 7 epic matchup. San Francisco 49ers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs at Santa Clara, California. Rematch of Super Bowl. Now, both teams are coming off bye weeks. Andy Reid historically is very, very good coming off of a bye week. Kyle Shanahan, 500 coming off of a bye week. However, this game means a hell of a lot more for the San Francisco 49ers than it does the Kansas City Chiefs. Why? Because the San Francisco 49ers have something to prove. They have something to prove that they are not just a flash in the pan, always the bridesmaid. They want to be able to say that we are a top team in the NFL year after year after year. And by doing that, they have to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. To put the San Francisco 49ers on this top pedestal that many people are doing, they have to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are not worried about the San Francisco 49ers whatsoever. This does not affect them long-term at all. It affects the San Francisco 49ers more because they have a lot of off-season drama that involves contracts. Brandon Ayuk basically trying to force his hand at a trade. Week 6 was a bye week for the San Francisco 49ers. Do they trade Brandon Ayuk at this point? Is Brock Purdy throwing the ball around like an MVP level quarterback, or is he back down to average? Week 7, I do think the Kansas City Chiefs do drop the San Francisco 49ers, though. Second loss of the season, putting them at 4-2 on the season. Give us a Week 8 matchup. Staying out west. Traveling to Allegiant Stadium and taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. A place where the Kansas City Chiefs have never lost. The Kansas City Chiefs have never lost in Vegas. And that trend continues. Aiden O'Connell, you can flex all you want saying we were the last team to beat Kansas City in 2023 season. Well, guess what? It's 2024 season and the Chiefs come to play. They had a nice little battle versus the San Francisco 49ers, but they had this game circled on this calendar. Week 8, it's going down, baby. Raiders, do you remember that Broncos win 63-21? Do you remember you guys beating us Christmas Day and saying, oh, we the best? Kansas City Chiefs come into Las Vegas, and they beat down the Raiders. They beat down a terrible Las Vegas Raiders team. A Raiders team that doesn't want anything to do with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Raiders are happy playing the Chargers and the Broncos. They don't want to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Get out of here. Jim says it's a loss for Kansas City and Las Vegas and Kansas City. We sweeping. Ain't a damn thing the Chiefs can do. I disagree. Week number 9. Seems like forever since the Chiefs have played a home game. Been damn near 3 to 4 weeks at this particular point, but they're back at home. Week 9, taking on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I like me some Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love me some Baker Mayfield. However, the Tampa Bay defense is kind of worrisome. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense scares me, meaning they're not very good. Offense is going to be A-okay. They got Mike Evans, they got Chris Godwin, they got Baker Mayfield, they got a plethora of running backs. They have a pretty decent offensive line. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs defense and the offense is just too much for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to handle. Give me the Chiefs victory in this one. Giving them back-to-back wins over the Raiders and the Broncos. Now we back on the saddle. Now we back rolling. Then week 10, we back at home, taking on the Denver Broncos and Jarrett Stidham or Bo Nix or Zach Wilson or whoever else quarterback they might particularly have that particular week. This game's not even close. Not even close. The AFC guys might be the worst division in football, and that's because of the Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers. They're all not very good. The Broncos might be the worst of them all. Sorry, Mark, but it's true. Kansas City Chiefs win this game. Give us 3 games in a row. Then the Week 11 game that we've all been waiting for. The Week 11 game that many people have circled on the calendar saying this is going to be must-see TV. This is the game that many people think is the measuring stick for both teams going in for the rest of the season. Forget who it was on the comments thinking that the Buffalo Bills are going to win this game. Buffalo Bills are going to go 14-3 on the season. There's a reason why this game is on the calendar year after year after year. It is a great game. It's a great game. And the Buffalo Bills get the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season, it seems like every time. And this year's no different. I think the Kansas City Chiefs go into Buffalo and they kind of just drop an egg. They kind of stumble over themselves all game long. Josh Allen looked like an MVP. That non-dangerous wide receiver core actually looks pretty dangerous all game long. Hell, MVS might score a couple of touchdowns. He might drop 5 passes in his chest, but he might score a couple of touchdowns still. This Kansas City Chiefs game, or the Buffalo Bills game versus Kansas City Chiefs, I just don't think the Chiefs show up. I don't think the Chiefs are mentally prepared to play in Buffalo in the regular season, and I don't know why. And they dropped this game. Casey Morgan says Allen doesn't have Diggs anymore. I think they're going to lose to the Chiefs, no challenge. Now, I have said, and I still stand by it, that nobody on the Bills receiver core really scares me. But at the same time, last year, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core, nobody scared you. Kansas City Chiefs had no idea who their go-to guy was till like week 15. That's what made that receiver core so dangerous. When you look at the Buffalo Bills receiver core, yes, they are very, very young. They have a rookie. They have a second-year guy. They have a nice 1-2 punch that tied in with Knox and Kincaid. But I do think the Buffalo Bills win this Week 11 game. I do think the Kansas City Chiefs drop an egg. Give us a Week 12 matchup. Still on the East Coast, still on the road. Taking on Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. This Week 10, 11, 12 is a stretch of games that it would not surprise me if the Kansas City Chiefs drop all 3. Versus the Broncos, versus the Bills, versus the Panthers. And like, what? The Panthers? You talking about the terrible Panthers? Yeah. This game worries me. Because after losing to the Buffalo Bills the way they lost, right, kind of just got manhandled, forgot to show up, laid an egg, the Kansas City Chiefs quite haven't pushed the reset button yet. Going into Week 12, they're still looking back like, man, we played that bad versus the Buffalo Bills. And they're going to be cakewalking through this Carolina Panthers team. And it's going to come up and it's going to bite them in the ass. And the Kansas City Chiefs lose Week 12 to the Carolina Panthers. 2 games in a row now the Kansas City Chiefs have lost to the Buffalo Bills and the Carolina Panthers. The talk on our show, on Sports Center, on NFL Good Morning, whatever show you're watching, the lead show after this Sunday game, after the Kansas City Chiefs have lost to the Buffalo Bills and the Carolina Panthers, like, whoa, are the Chiefs any good? Are the Chiefs in trouble? What's going on in Kansas City? What is this? What is that? Right? There was going to be a lot of paradox happening. There was going to be a lot of doxing. There's going to be a lot of like, what in the world is going on? Right? And I will be the first to admit it. I'm going to be, what the hell is going on in Kansas City? If this happens, what is going on? What's happening is they got Week 13 game versus the Las Vegas Raiders. What's going to happen is the Raiders are going to come into town. The Raiders think they got the Kansas City Chiefs on the rope yet again. Right? Late November, late December game. What date is this game? Late November game. The Raiders think that, hey, we can go into Kansas City again. They're playing bad. They're playing sluggish. We can beat them again. But Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Ajay Paseko, the boys are like, slow it down, baby. The Raiders might come in with chest all pumped out. Chiefs on a 2-game losing streak. It doesn't matter. The Kansas City Chiefs sweep the Raiders. They beat the Raiders. They beat them bad. again. Devontae Adams might punch another cameraman. Gardner Minshew might have to shave his mustache after this game because he got beat down so freaking bad. They may have lost to the Panthers. They may have lost to the Bills. But come week 13, Kansas City Chiefs right the ship, and they are downright beating down the Las Vegas Raiders. No question in my mind. Timothy Nicholas says, buddy, the Chiefs, back up, my guy, could beat the Panthers. I think he's saying the Chiefs will beat the Panthers. Timothy, I think it's a trap game. I think that week 12 game versus the Carolina Panthers is a trap game. Because week 13, they got the Raiders. Week 14, they're back at home. They're playing the Chargers. A bad Chargers team. This game's not even close either. It might be close on the scoreboard, but the Kansas City Chiefs are going to dominate this game up and down the field. Over and over and over. Chiefs are back on track, giving them 2 wins in a row. Now, week 15. I cannot remember if it was Casey or if it was somebody else, but they said that the AFC North could potentially sweep the Kansas City Chiefs this season. So if you guys remember right, the Kansas City Chiefs do play all NFC North teams. They've already played the Bengals. They've already played the Ravens. They play the Browns and the Steelers on a Wednesday night. This Browns team is a team where I don't know what to expect. I've watched a lot of film on the Browns. A lot of mini camp, a lot of OTAs, a lot of off-season workouts with quarterbacks in 7-on-7. I've watched a lot of Cleveland Browns the last 3 days. Probably 20 hours worth. I do not know how good or how bad the Cleveland Browns are going to be. They are so up and down in practice, I don't know whether they're coming or whether they're going. Deshaun Watson one day looks amazing, putting the ball exactly where it needs to be over and over and over. The next game, hell, the next rep is 20 feet above the guy's head. Watch it. Deshaun Watson has had a bad minicamp. Now, the media is going to say, oh, he's good, he's rusty, whatever. No, he's been bad. But the Browns' defense is amazing. The Browns' running game is amazing. The Browns' receiver core is top-notch. Just like we said about Russ, just doesn't have to suck. Deshaun Watson just doesn't have to suck. And I think this Week 15 matchup, Deshaun Watson doesn't suck. I think Patrick Mahomes plays a B game versus this Browns defense and is just not good enough to beat them. I think the Browns beat the Kansas City Chiefs in this Week 15 matchup, giving the Kansas City Chiefs their 5th loss on the season. That's right, 5th loss. Give us a Week 16 matchup back at home. Potential playoff preview, right? High-flying Houston Texans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. Actually, Week 15 is the Steelers. Why? What's going on here? Messed up. My bad, guys. This is Week 17. I got to make mixed up. Week 16 is the Steelers. The Wednesday night game. This is the game that I'm very confused about why we're doing a Wednesday night game. Stupid, in my opinion, but hey, it is what it is. After playing a really good Browns team the week before, short work week, going back to Pittsburgh, back on the road, playing a really good Steelers team with the quarterback that just doesn't have to suck, I think the Chiefs pull this one out. I think the Chiefs are more equipped to play on a short work week than the Pittsburgh Steelers are. Yes, the Pittsburgh Steelers do play that Saturday night as well, coming into Wednesday. And then I think the Steelers just dropped an egg. Give us the Week 17, not 16 matchup, back at home, taking on the Houston Texans. Houston Texans. This is a game where I am complexed about. This is a game that I am... Actually, it's not mixed up. I'm sorry, guys. I messed up. It is Week 16 for the Texans. My fault. But this is a game that I'm complexed about. This is a game that I do think the Texans will be coming back down to where they are no longer overachieving till they're no longer being an outlier. But at the same time, they're still a pretty good team. They added Daniil Hunter this offseason. They added Stephon Diggs, right? Tank Dell is back. CJ Stroud in his second season. D'Amico Ryans in his second season. The Texans are going to be a good team. They're going to be a solid team. If I'm not mistaken, this is a Monday night football game. Sunday night football game. Nope. Sunday afternoon game. I think the Chiefs beat the Houston Texans in this game. I think the Texans just aren't quite there yet to beat a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. Give us a Week 18 matchup. Kansas City Chiefs back-to-back weeks on the road, going to Pittsburgh and then going to Denver Broncos playing Mile High Stadium. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are 11-5 on the season. Probably at this time, the Broncos are probably playing Bo Nix at this particular time. Jarrett Stidham is up there, but it's probably going to be Bo Nix. And I think the Broncos are probably going to be trying to lose this game. But I think this is a pretty close game. I think Carson Wentz probably plays in this game for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs probably have the number 1 seed locked up at this particular point, if not number 2 seed either way. They can't move up and they can't move down in this particular game, but the Chiefs win this game. They beat the Broncos, giving them a 12-5 regular season. I think the Chiefs will be a 12-win team this season. Last season, they were 11-6. When you look at their schedule, the front half of the schedule is pretty painful. You play the Ravens, you play the Bengals, you're at Atlanta, you're at San Francisco, you play the Buccaneers, you play the Bills. Kind of tough sledding there, right? Middle gets kind of easy. Panthers, Raiders, Chargers. But then the back half, you got the Browns, you got the Texans, you got the Steelers and the Broncos again. The Chiefs do have a favorable schedule to win a lot of games this season. However, the travel, the lack of rest, the extra rest, the stupid amount of games that they play on non-Sundays and Mondays is just stupid to me. But I do think the Chiefs go 12-5 this season. I do think they have a successful season. I do think they are competing for the AFC West at this particular point. We talked about it yesterday. I think the Chargers will do a 6-win team. The Chiefs so far are a 12-win team. When we break down the Raiders and break down the Broncos, we'll see if they can get 12 wins. But if you guys have been listening to the context clues here, you can pretty much tell you that the Chiefs are probably going to win the West. And that is the poll question for today, guys. Do the Chiefs win the West? Let me guys know. Do the Chiefs win the West? Did I not end the poll? Started the poll. I don't know. But in the end, let me guys know. This is Men Hour NFL Talk, live, raw, uncut NFL Talk. Tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. East Coast time, we're talking those Las Vegas Raiders again. Stay tuned. Until next time, we out. And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckcasher here with the Man Hour, short over manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page or check out the blog section as well. But if you are viewing this here and you are enjoying your content, consider liking and consider subscribing to whatever platform that you are listening to us on. But most importantly, share this with us circle friends, because sharing is caring at the end of the day, and I care about you because you care about me, and we're all family. You all like to eat. With that being said, guys, we are continuing our quest across the AFC West. We've talked about the Chargers, we've talked about the Kansas City Chiefs, and today we are going to talk about the one and only Las Vegas Raiders. That's right, guys. We're going to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders, and I know we've talked about them already once this season, but we got to talk about them again. Maybe you guys have changed my mind. Maybe you guys have officially changed my mind with the Raiders. You know what? You guys have. You guys have changed my mind about the Raiders. They're not going to get 4 wins or 5 wins or 6 wins. They're going to be a top team in the AFC West. They're going to be a team that runs through every gauntlet of a challenge that they have coming forward. Guys, the Las Vegas Raiders are the real deal. They are the real deal. But before we get too carried away in today's show, we got to welcome my man, Mark Deeds, in the chat from the NFL Experts podcast. Mark Deeds, a Denver Broncos fan. We talk to Mark D tomorrow, July 4th, guys. Set your calendars, 2:30 East Coast time right here on Facebook.com, of course, YouTube.com. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Twitter or whatever, right? Tune in tomorrow. My man Mark D, tells you about the Denver Broncos. John Peoples in the chat this morning as well. This afternoon. I'm stuck in the morning. Afternoons, baby. John is a pigskin pundit. He has clicked on the link below, and he has been a subscriber. John got a special member-only stream here at about 11 o'clock this morning. We talked about Dak Prescott going to the Las Vegas Raiders, and can you guys really convince me that is a bad idea or a good idea, right? He says, about time you're buying on the Raiders. Am I? Kevin Cunningham's in the chat. Sorry, Kevin Cummings is in the chat as well. He says, Raiders? The real deal? That's messed up. Well, Kevin, spoiler alert, the Raiders still suck. Guys, you can tell me that I'm a clown. You can tell me that I'm smoking crack or my mom's blowing this or blowing that and all the clown emojis that you want. But the truth of the matter is, guys, the Las Vegas Raiders are not very good. That is a simple truth of the matter, that the Las Vegas Raiders are not very good. So all you Raiders fans out there, hashtag Raiders Nation, hashtag RN4L, right? Raiders Nation for life. Every time I see that, I see the word anal, but whatever. But let me legitimately ask you guys this question. Let's sit down and ask this question. Where did the Raiders get better this off season? Last season, they did finish, 8-9, right? Let me get it correct, because you know all those Raiders haters like, you know what? We got 10 wins. No, you guys were 8-9. You did have a good month into December, right? You won the last 3 of your last 4 games, beating the Chargers, Chiefs, and the Broncos. But let me ask you this question, legitimately, Raiders fans. Where did you guys get better this offseason? Where did you get better? Oh, we got Christian Wilkins in the offseason. He's the greatest defensive tackle ever. Is he? Is he? Last season, he had 38 solo tackles, 27-6 for 9 sacks, 1 forced fumble. That to me does not scream greatness looking at those stats. But I know stats lie, especially for defensive linemen. Defensive linemen are there to take up blocks, take on the old big healthy guys, so the linebackers can run free. So I jumped in there and I watched film on Wilkins last season. He did not jump off the tape at me whatsoever. Now, I do understand you have Max Crosby. He does jump off the film at you. When you watch tape, you know this guy is an elite athlete. You guys know that Max Crosby is a really, really good guy. Robert Spillane, he kind of jumps off the film as well. The rest of the team, nobody jumps off the film on that defense. Yes, the defense could be a top 15 defense. Well, guess what? That's still about average. Oh, but Buck, Aiden O'Connell threw 8 touchdowns to 1 interception in the last 4 games of the season. And Do it for a whole season, my guy. Do it for a whole season, my guy, and then we can talk. Then we can discuss. I'm asking you guys this question legitimately. Where did the Raiders get better this offseason? Oh, they hired AP as a coach. He was intern coach for half of the season. Yes, they did play a little bit more inspired, I guess you can say. But do it for 17 games. For all you Raiders fans out there that are putting them up on this pedestal, slow your roll, jabronis. Slow your roll, jabronis. Mark says, the Raiders are not the real deal. I don't care what you guys say. Mark says Raiders are not the real deal. Kevin Cummings says the facts are the Raiders will be battling for third place. Yeah, they will be. They will be in the cellar of the AFC West. They will be in the cellar of the NFL. They will be battling for a number 1 overall pick. That's the only battling that the Raiders will be doing all season long. John People says they improved defensively. They improved by adding an overpaid and overrated nose tackle. Yeah, bud. Little man says the Raiders suck too. Huh. Raiders aren't very good, are they, bud? Nope. Raiders suck. Tell them. Raiders suck, buddy. Mark says, I read their coach filed for bankruptcy. What? Are we talking about Antonio Pierce or like a different coach? No. You smell like cotton candy. As the NFL coach, how are you filing for bankruptcy? What the heck? That can't be true. Casey Morgan's in the chat. Good morning, Casey. Or good afternoon, Casey. He has that 3 buy, so I think he's a 3-year subscriber. Can you guys believe we're going on 3 years of Man Hour? Good Lord. Raiders equals 4th place holder, says Casey. 4th place. Not wrong. Not wrong. I will be releasing my division standings on Friday, right? We'll be seeing where the Raiders eventually land. Kevin Cummings says Wilkins likes to grab quarterbacks' packages. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. It is what it is. His wife took the blame for the bankruptcy. Oh, good Lord. Investment between 2 former NFL players. Man, listen, I am no financial guru by any stretch of the imagination, but you got to be better. You got to be smarter. John People says they're a top 10 defense. A top 10 defense in Las Vegas? John, I understand you are in the Michigan area, and I understand it's probably hot. You have never seen 90 degrees in your 82 years of life, I'm sure. It's hot up there. But sit down, get in that nice central air unit that you just put in your house, drink a glass of water, because the Las Vegas Raiders are not a top 10 defense. What part of their defense screams top 10 besides Max Crosby? Max Crosby could be a top 10 defensive end in the NFL, more than likely top 5. Spillane, Jack Jones, Marcus Epps, Nate Hobbs. None of them scream top 10 defense to me, John. None of them do. The biggest issue with the Las Vegas Raiders is that quarterback. 100%. Kevin said it the best. Their biggest issue is that quarterback. In our Pigskin-only pundits stream this morning here about 11, 10 o'clock, I forgot what time it was, I asked a question. So I'm going to ask you guys this question as well before we start breaking down the Raiders again. Maybe they're better than 4 wins. Maybe. If Dak Prescott is out there for the taking in the next few weeks, Dallas Cowboys says, you know what? We're not signing Dak Prescott to a long-term deal. Who wants him? And the Dallas Cowboys actually take that salary cap bite, right? They get punched in the heart and said, pay that $90 million or whatever it is. Does Dak Prescott to the Las Vegas Raiders actually make sense? To me, it does not make sense. This year does not make sense. No trade. Wait till free agency. Dak Prescott will be a $60 million quarterback come next year. Whether it's for the Dallas Cowboys, whether it's for the Seahawks, whether it's for the Minnesota Vikings, whether it's for the Las Vegas Raiders, Dak Prescott's going to be a $60 million quarterback. If you put a top 5 quarterback like Dak Prescott on the Las Vegas Raiders right now, does that make them a playoff caliber team? And the answer to that question to me is no. I love me some Dak Prescott, but he does not elevate the Las Vegas Raiders into a playoff or Super Bowl caliber team. They have a very aging wide receiver core. Davante Adams doesn't really want to be there anymore. Yes, you still have Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, and Michael Gallup just came in from Dallas. But the receiver core, we talked about how bad the Chargers receiver core are. We talked about how bad the Panthers and Patriots receiver core is. You take Davante Adams out of this receiver core, they are terrible. And right now, the only thing Davante Adams is living off is his name in Green Bay. So let's ask this question legitimately. Quarterback room in Las Vegas right now is terrible. Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, Anthony Brown Jr., and Carter Bradley. 4 quarterbacks on the Las Vegas Raiders roster right now. As a Las Vegas Raiders fan, hater, whatever you guys want to deem yourselves at, do you bring in a quarterback before the season starts? I'm answering that question as a yes. I'm on the phone with the Dallas Cowboys, Trey Lance. I'm on the phone with Ryan Tannehill, free agent, right? I'm on the phone with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Justin Fields, Russ. Give me one of those guys. I'm on the phone with the Denver Broncos. Give me Zach Wilson. Hell, I might even be on the phone with the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me Carson Wentz. Guys, the Las Vegas Raiders are not very good right now. My man BC Combs is in the chat. He says, why are you sounding like Elmo with the Southern drawl? Do I sound like Elmo? I think I sound pretty good. Jeez, Combsy. What's up, my guy? John says, did you send the Raiders jersey you lost from picking winners last year? I did. Even though John hedged his bets, it is what it is. And then BC Combs wants to come in here and say, Chiefs and the Chargers are the team to beat in that division. You got half of the thing right. I got a freaking hair in my mouth. You got half of that right, Combsy. The Chiefs are the team to beat in that division. The Chargers are bottom dwellers too. How did the Chargers get better this offseason? You released Mike Williams, or you released Keenan Allen. Both let them go to other teams. You said, Austin Eckler, get out of here. Now Austin Eckler saying that they wanted me to carry the ball too much. The only thing the Chargers did this offseason was bring in Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh. Now, next year, 2025, 2026, give me some Chargers. If they continue the path that they're on, give me the Chargers. This year, no. This year, no. John says, I cannot wait to watch you eat some crow this season. You see, John, I'm not going to eat crow. I'm not going to eat crow because the Las Vegas Raiders are not very good. They have a terrible quarterback room. Kevin Cummings says the Chiefs. Chargers ain't doing shit this year. And Greg Roman as their OC is going to be a run-heavy offense. The bright side about that is they do have J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. So they could potentially run the ball a lot. Combsy is agreeing with me. The quarter room is so gross. So gross. But then Kevin wants to come up here with some logic. He says, I like Minshew better than Jimmy G, to be honest. So this is the problem with Gardner Minshew. I said this in the Pigskin Pundits, and I'm going to transcribe it for you guys here that are not subscribers to us that have not heard this. Gardner Minshew reminds me of Ryan Fitzpatrick. What do I mean by that? Ryan Fitzpatrick is good for 4 to 5 games a season. He will never give you full, complete 16, 17 game season. Let's look at Ryan Fitzpatrick back when he played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't remember who the quarterback was. I believe it was Jameis Winston at the time. He goes down, insert Ryan Fitzpatrick. First game throws for like 400 yards. Second game throws for like 500 yards. Third game, another 400-yard game. He had 3 or 4 400-yard games in a row. Fifth game out there, 96 yards, 7 interceptions, gets benched. Gardner Minshew is a good stop, fill, gap guy. He's a good backup quarterback. Jim Powell's in the chat. Speaking of Pigskin Pun, he says, Combs don't know. He's a Bears fan. He's a Bears fan. That he is a Bears fan. And this is where we're going to start. We're going to start week 1, guys. We are going to go through these NFL games again for the Las Vegas Raiders, breaking down the 2024 NFL season here. And try to make me pick the other team, guys. Give me a reason. How can the Raiders win this game? This is going to be a battle of the basement in the AFC West. This is going to be a battle for, hell, the second place team might only have 6 wins this season. So you get one of them, you get a six of your wins week 1. You're living high life, right? The bad thing about the Raiders in this game is that the Chargers are at home. The Chargers will finally have a home field advantage at SoFi Stadium this week 1 game. They will finally run the ball a little bit. The defense is not going to be very good for the Raiders. They're going to be tired. They're going to be sluggish. They're going to get ran all over with a nice 1-2 punch with the Chargers. Chargers offense is looking pretty good. I'm picking the Chargers in this particular game. Tell me how the Raiders can win this game. Is Aiden O'Connell going to throw for 300 yards? Is it Zamir White? Zamir White. Is he going to rush for a $150? Is Devontae Adams going to magically revert to 5 years ago when he was with MVP caliber quarterback and Aaron Rodgers? I just don't see it. I don't see it. Kevin says to play running defense because that's all the Chargers will be doing. Let's not forget the Chargers still do have Justin Herbert, right? Justin Herbert is not a terrible quarterback. Justin Herbert is still a quarterback that has a lot of potential in his bag. Chargers might have the worst wide receiver room out of all of the NFL. The most unknown, the most unproven, whatever word you want to put in it. Nobody expects nothing out of them this season, but they still got Justin Herbert. He's like Ryan Fitzpatrick as well. He's good for 3 games. But I had the Chargers winning this game. Week 2, on the road. Raiders travel to Baltimore to take on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. AFC runner-ups. Bridesmaids of the AFC. The Ravens play the Chiefs week 1. They have a 10-day break till they play the Raiders. Too much more of King Henry, too much of running game. It's another run it down your throat type of game, and the Raiders can't handle it. Max Crosby is an excellent pass rusher. Max Crosby can get after the quarterback and sack him a lot. He can. He is excellent at that. When he can pin his ears back and just go get the quarterback, he's really, really, really good. But when you run right at Max Crosby, he kind of shits the bed a little bit. Much like Micah Parsons. How you defeat Micah Parsons, you run right at him. Don't run away from him. He has a chance to chase you down. Max Crosby has the issue of taking on blocks and getting off of blocks. Watch the film. Watch the tape. Denver Broncos game is a prime example. Early in that game, he could not get off the blocks. Once the Raiders jumped up in that game, he was able to pin his ears back and just go get the quarterback. He was a hell of a lot better. 0-2. Kevin says it has nothing to do with Herbert. Harbaugh and Roman are going to run the ball all season long. Roman did it in Baltimore and Buffalo too. This is not wrong. Greg Roman is a very run-heavy offensive coordinator. I get it. Jim says, we don't need a Pro Bowl quarterback. Uncle Rico will get us there. But you do need a Pro Bowl quarterback. Think about this. Let's click on Davante Adams' stats. Davante Adams was a top 5, top 10 receiver when he was with the MVP caliber quarterback. He was unstoppable. Yes, last year he did have 1,100 yards. Adam Thielen also had 1,100 yards last season. Davante Adams is not finding the end zone very often anymore. It's because the MVP quarterback is no longer there. No longer with him. You are going to need an MVP style of quarterback to really push this team. Uncle Rico, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, Bradley Johnson, they're not the answer. The answer might be on the Pittsburgh Steelers, but right now, at home, taking on the Panthers. They finally win a game. Finally win a game versus the Panthers. Week 4. Play the Browns. This is a game that I am concerned if I am a Browns fan. I think the Raiders do beat the Browns this week. I do think that the Raiders step up to the challenge of playing the old mighty Cleveland Browns. Insert Gardner Minshew in this game. By the way, I think Gardner Minshew will be starting by week 4, week 5. Get the dub. 2 in a row. Looking pretty nice at this point. But the wheels fall off the bus. Week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8, week 9, week 10's a bye week, week 11, week 12. All losses. All losses at the end of the day. Derek Carr would win a Super Bowl with his team. Derek Carr's a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. You just legit contradicted yourself right there. You legit just said, we don't need a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, but then you say Derek Carr would win. Derek Carr's the Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. Make up your mind, baby. Week 12 is a dub. Week 13, back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Another L. Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another loss. Play the Falcons. Potentially. At home. Potential. We'll give them a tie. Week 16 versus Jags. That is a win. 17 versus Saints. Derek Carr playing his old team. That's a win. That's a loss for you guys. A win for Derek Carr. Chargers. Guys, I still have the Raiders going 4-13 this season. Try to convince me otherwise where they can get 6 wins. Let's say they beat the Broncos and the Chargers twice. I guess there's your 7 wins. But I don't see them beating the Chargers at all. I see them splitting with the Broncos, getting swept by the Chiefs. Let's just say, in theory, they win all the games they are favored in. They would still only be 6-11. The Las Vegas Raiders are only favored in 6 games this season, guys. They're only favored in 6 games, and I have them winning 4. Panthers, Browns, Broncos, Jaguars. Yes, I do have them on a 9-game losing streak still. I tried to convince myself to give them 6 wins, 7 wins. I tried. I sat there in the pigskin only chat. I tried to convince myself that the Las Vegas Raiders are not that bad. I tried. But nobody has convinced me otherwise. All you guys have said is defense. What about the defense? Where have they got better? Well, they got AP as the head coach. Okay, he was there last year. Well, they got Greg, what's his face, his second year. Okay, awesome. Where did they get better? I'm legitimately asking the question. People on YouTube, people on Facebook, people on the old TikTok, where did they get better? Jim Powell says, we won 8 games last season, and we're not in this good of shape. Smoking that stuff will make you hungry and dumb. Have you guys watched the Raiders OTAs and minicamp? There are teams out there that have peps in their step. The Chicago Bears have looked really, really good during OTAs. The Houston Texans have looked really, really good during OTAs. The New York Giants surprisingly look really good in OTAs. Have a little pep in their step. Jiving with the team. Putting the balls where they need to go. The routes look good. The fundamentals on defense look pretty good. The Raiders are just out there kind of like blah. Going through the motions. Yes, I know it's dog days of summer. Yes, I know it's minicamp. Yes, I know it's voluntary OTAs. Real camp doesn't start till August. I get it. I get it. We have a whole month of no football still, right? I get it. But the truth of the matter is championships are won in June and July. When you are putting in that work, gelling with your teams, looking excited to play some football, that is when championships are won. And Jim is correct. Jim, this is the smartest thing you've said all day long. Defense wins championships. That you are 100% correct. Defense does win championships. You are correct. I concur with that. The Kansas City Chiefs last season was carried by their defense all season long. The Kansas City Chiefs offense hasn't been high-flying since 2019, 2020. I get it. Defense wins championships, but at the same time, you got to put up points. At the same time, you still got to put up points. You can be pitching a shutout all game long, but you still got to score some points. O'Connell is not going to score you a lot of points. Gardner Minshew is not going to score you a lot of points. I understand. Baltimore Ravens defense in 2000s, right? Carried Trent Dilfer to the Super Bowl. I believe when I watched that, was that 30 for 30, I think it was, or something, that the Ravens did not score a touchdown for like 6 straight weeks. I get it. You can win championships like that. I understand, and I concur with you on that. But I don't think the Raiders have it in them. I don't think the Raiders have the gulp in their nutsack to go 6 weeks without scoring a touchdown. I don't think the Raiders defense can score like the a Baltimore Ravens defense did back in 2000. Was it 2000? 2001, whatever year it was. I was still a pretty young pup then. Jim says Kelsey wants to be a Raider. But the Raiders don't even want to be Raiders. Nobody wants to be a Raider, Jim. Gardner Minshew went there just because he wanted a porn star. The only reason why Aiden O'Connell and Max Crosby are there is because they got drafted there. When Max Crosby's contract's up in 2 years, I think it is, 3 years, you think he's going to really want to sign with the Las Vegas Raiders? When the Kansas City Chiefs put that $97 million payday in front of him? And we are splitting the series this year. Splitting the series with who? The Chiefs, Raiders, and the Broncos? Going 3-3 in the division? I doubt it. I doubt it. You need a home field advantage for that to happen, and we all know Raiders don't have a home field advantage. Kelsey said it on a podcast. I did not make it up that he wants to be a Raider. Send me the link to the podcast, and I'll listen to it. I'm sure it was clipped to make it sound like I want to be a Raider. Is that what it sounded like? Did they have Stuttering Buck on there? But with that being said, guys, I had the Raiders going 4-13 this season. I tried to give them six wins. I dug deep, and I really, truly tried to give them 6 wins. And I think they could get 6 wins. I think they can split, or they can sweep the Broncos, and I think they can split with the Chargers. But other than that, I don't see any other wins. I don't see them beating the Rams. I don't see them beating the Steelers. I don't see them beating the Chiefs, Bengals, Dolphins, Bucks, Saints. Hell, they may not even beat the Jaguars. 4-13. Did you wake up to choose to be nice? Listen, Casey. I know that there are like thousands of comments that scroll through my phone every day, and I see damn near probably 80% of them. And Raiders fans are pissed off. They are pissed off. When we talked about them 2-3 weeks ago, they were pissed off. 4-13, what are you smoking meth? Is your mom blowing? Your mom sort of swallowed you, whatever, yada, yada, yada. I think 4-13 is a very conservative number. Pretty good. What do you guys think? What will the Raiders be in 2024? 6 wins, 7 wins, 2 wins? Let me know. Tomorrow we're taking Brown. What? Tomorrow we're breaking down the Denver Broncos 2:30 East Coast time with my man Mark D. Until then, we out. Is up, Man Hour Nation. Michael Buckhouse here with the Man Hour. Be sure over manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page, but most importantly, check out the blog section as well. And if you are new here, consider subscribing to the page and liking this as well. And also, share this with a couple friends, because sharing is caring at the end of the day. Welcome to our AFC West edition here. All week long, we've been talking AFC West. We've broken down the Kansas City Chiefs. We've broken down the terrible Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, the Raiders suck. Deal with it. Sorry, Raiders fans. Jim, John, you guys know you are. Raiders suck. And we also broke down the crappy Los Angeles Chargers as well. But most importantly, this is a team that many people are kind of worried about this season. Many people are saying, hey, this team could potentially throw some upsets this season. And that is the one and only the Denver Broncos. But let's flash back to 2023 with the Denver Broncos before we get too carried away. The 2023 NFL season for the Denver Broncos was one some people would like to forget. Let's just be flat out honest. Yes, they did finish 8-9, but they never really seemed to really get the ball rolling. Every time they would win a game, then they would lose 2, 3, 4 in a row. But, you know, hey, they did have wins over the Buffalo Bills, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Cleveland Browns, all 3 games in a win. Actually, they had a 5-game winning streak at some point in the season with wins over the Chiefs, Packers, Buffalo, Vikings, and the Cleveland Browns. They had a hot streak, but then Sean Payton's like, you know what? We don't like Russell Wilson. We want him out of town. Let's go ahead and cut this guy, a.k.a. they cut him and then they let them sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it was just kind of a, what do we do with our hands, right? So this offseason, they went into the draft. They drafted the edge rusher second round, but most importantly, they drafted Bo Nix with their first pick in the 2024 NFL draft. But before we get too carried away, we have to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, my guy from the NFL Experts, Mark, to the show. What's up, Mark? How's it going today, man?
What's up, Mike Buck? I'm glad to be on the show for you, man.
Hey, dude, I am always excited to talk football with a fellow football nerd, and I've been watching you guys over there on the NFL Experts basically since your inception of the show. Wayne G's like, hey, come watch my show, see what you like, and I like what you guys do over there. You are the NFL Experts over there, so obviously you have some knowledge, but tell the people just a little bit about your show before we get too carried away into your Denver Broncos.
All right. Well, we're on all the social media outlets. We are the NFL Experts Pod, plural, so you can find us anywhere, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We do a live stream every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. I'm in Colorado, so it's 5 o'clock our time. Me and Wayne, we give our knowledge of everything football and everything NFL. We spit out our opinions, and you know what? You get an expert opinion.
Yeah, and with those experts' opinions, you obviously have your team that you enjoy out there, and your team is the Denver Broncos. So this offseason, you guys kind of had a turbulent offseason, maybe you want to say. You know, you cut your potential franchise quarterback that you traded the house, the farm, and the dog and the cat for. You basically let him walk. You are still paying him this season, what, like $60 million or whatever it is. First things first, I got to ask you that question. When you heard that your team, the Denver Broncos, cut Russell Wilson, what was your first initial thoughts?
Honestly, Mike, it was kind of something I saw coming. Like I've stated on my show many a times, I felt like Russell was screwed from the get when he got here. He came here, he was like our second option. Everybody knows that the Broncos were trying to get Aaron Rodgers. We didn't get Aaron Rodgers. That's why we hired inept Nathaniel Hackett as our coach, thinking we could lure Rodgers here. He ditched us. He went back to Green Bay. So we decided, let's bring Russell in. So already he was our second choice. And then we pair him with Hackett, who can't run a freaking offense. Even the Jets are trying to get rid of him. So he was doomed that year. And then also that year, he was trying to be the in-the-pocket guy, run my own offense. He wanted to be like Mahomes and Rodgers. But you know what? That's not him. That's not Russell. Like, he may have wanted to do that, but that's not what he excels at. Okay, so year 2 with Sean Payton. I don't care what anybody says. Like, Sean Payton turned him around after his terrible year with Hackett. He didn't even like him most of the time. You saw it on the sidelines most of the game, especially during the Lions game when he berated him on the sideline. Yep. And I think it was just all coming to a head. Russell Wilson is not Sean Payton's style of quarterback.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if this move fails, it's going to set the Denver Broncos franchise back many, many, many years. But now we look at this quarterback room now. We have basically a brand new quarterback room. You have Jarrett Stidham that is currently listed as the starter. You have rookie Bo Nix, which we know Sean Payton normally does not play rookie quarterbacks for whatever reason. And then you guys traded for Zach Wilson as well. Earlier, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, you popped in on our show on the comments. I believe we were breaking down the New York Jets, and you said it would not shock you one bit if Zach Wilson wins that starting quarterback job. With that being said, are you ready to put your money where your mouth is and say Zach Wilson is going to be the starter for the 2024 season for the Denver Broncos?
Yes, I'm probably the only one, Mike, out there that believes this. But this is my thinking on it. Okay, Zach Wilson clearly has the better arm of the three guys. He's got a rocket arm. 2, he has the most starts and most experience as a quarterback. Those 2 things, I think he's got the edge on the other guys. And I don't know why everybody's sleeping on him.
Yeah, I think the main reason why people are sleeping on him is because of the dumpster fire that he was in New York. Because if you look at his tenure in New York, he was consistently being thrown under the bus. play after play, game after game, year after year. This is the reason why we're losing. This is the reason why we're losing. This is the reason why we're losing. Insert Aaron Rodgers into the Jets. And just underneath the summer, behind Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson looks like he took leaps and bounds going into that, first game when he was thrown in the fire. Week 2, week 3, then he kind of did, and then he seemed to digress toward the end of the season. So, with that being said, if Zach Wilson is the starter this season, and Zach Wilson looks decent, right? Let's say he's a 500 quarterback throughout the 16, 17 game season here, and they have 7, 8, 9 wins right in that area. Could you potentially see Zach Wilson be the long-term answer in Denver, or is Bo Nix the heir apparent?
I think Zach Wilson's really got to show above and beyond, like way better than he did in New York. But the one thing I will say is that when he was in New York, he had a defensive-minded head coach. I'm a firm believer that young rookie quarterbacks need to go to a team that has an offensive-minded head coach. They will help them develop. They know the offensive system. Like, you're just in a better spot. A defensive guy is not going to focus on offense. He's going to worry about his defense the whole time, and that's why Jack Wilson didn't develop. I think Sean Payton is going to really turn this kid around. But I don't know. I still think Bo Nix is going to be the guy eventually. Yeah,
there is a reason why you always draft a quarterback that high and then kind of add insurance behind him like Jarrett Stidham and Zach, just in case something does happen. But the most important thing that I want to talk about is obviously the Chargers have probably the worst wide receiver room in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. It's probably them, the Panthers, and then the Patriots. But then the Denver Broncos are kind of right there at the 28, 29 range as well. Cortland Sutton kind of seeking that long-term deal, has yet get the long-term deal. Marvin Mims Jr., Josh, and Tim Patrick. Your guys' receiving room seems kind of thin and seems kind of really a big wild card, right? Do you potentially see your receiver room stepping up? Does Cortland Sutton become a top 15, top 10 receiver in the NFL?
Well, last year he showed flashes of some great play. He had some crazy catches in the end zone. I know a lot of them were Russell's famous, get out of the pocket, right, improvise, and throw it in the corner. So he had 10 touchdowns last year. Like, he was one of the top guys, one of the top wide receivers with most touchdowns. And that was with Russell. And I feel like if he gets a guy that's more in the pocket, he's not going to have to do that improvising stuff, and he's going to get the ball more. Like, I'm not going to say he's going to be a top 15, 20, whatever ranked wide receiver, but I think he's going to do good for us. He's our one guy that we need to rely on, and because he's like the one experienced wide receiver in that room. So he needs to show the rest of those young guys that we have, hey, this is how it's done.
Obviously the Broncos have not signed him to a long-term deal. In your eyes, what are they waiting on? Are they waiting for him to prove it this year, or are they waiting to potentially see what's out there in the draft? Like, what are they waiting on?
I think they want to see what he's going to do this year because he's still on the books for 2 more years.
Right.
He just wants a little bit more guaranteed money. And I think if that was really the issue, the Broncos would have already given it to him. I think they really want to see, hey, you played really well last year, 10 touchdowns, super good improvement. Let's see what you can do this year with a pocket quarterback, with me and revamping the offense, because Sean Payton was kind of handcuffed with his offense last year because of Russell Wilson. Now he's going to have his full spread offense that this whole team is going to be able to take advantage of now.
Yeah, so speaking of the whole team, the defense also has been kind of taking shots the last couple of seasons, right? You lost Von Miller, 3 years ago now. Patrick Surtain's getting older, and the rest of the defense kind of seems like big question marks, right? You did draft a defensive end from Utah, Jonas Ellis, right? And he potentially could be a Von Miller-esque type of player. How bad is your defense going to be? Let's just be flat honest. How bad is your defense going to be?
Honestly, everybody says our defense is going to be bad. Like, granted, we started off bad, really bad last year,
right,
with the Miami 70 burger. but we turned it around. Like, we were one of the best defenses in that. You were talking about that winning streak we went on.
Yep.
We had the best defense during that whole span of time. We had the most forced fumbles, most interceptions. And I could see that happening again. I can see our defense turning it around. I think Vance Joseph, now he's got another year under his belt with the defense. Granted, we lost Justin Simmons and we lost our linebacker. I'm drawing a blank on his name. But I don't think those were huge pieces. I think maybe Justin Simmons might be, because that's the back end, the deep routes. That might hurt us. But we did sign that guy, Brandon, drawing a blank on his name, from Miami, a young, good, upcoming safety. So I don't think we're really going to hurt that bad. I think we're going to probably be the lower tier, but I think our defense is still pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously any defense in the NFL can look great in stretches. It's a matter of putting it through 12, 13, 14, 16, 17 games in a season. That's been the biggest downfall of the Kansas City Chiefs in their non-Super Bowl years, is the first half of the season their defense sucks. But one of the bright spots of the Denver Broncos has been their offensive line. Now, I know last year Russell did his thing, right? Scrambled a lot. But if you look at the rankings of the offensive line, the Denver Broncos had a top 10, top 5 offensive line all season long. With now a pocket quarterback, a non-scrambling quarterback, a non-improvising quarterback, can you see your offensive line getting even that much better?
I do. I also think the running game is going to even be better. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but Russell Wilson ran into 25% of our sacks last year. That's a huge number. If we can eliminate that completely, that's going to help us out tremendously.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, Russ is going to Russ, I guess, at the end of the day. But that's the past. This is the present. The 2024 NFL season. Basically, we need to talk about the games. They have is it a favorable schedule in your eyes?
No, I think we have a tough stretch in the beginning, and we have a really tough stretch at the very end of the season. So I think we got to kind of screwed in the beginning and end of the year, which is going to be tough because you really want to start off hot and you want to finish hot. And so we have a lot of tough games, so it's going to be tough. Yeah,
and so let's just go ahead and start breaking down these games. Week 1, you guys traveled to Seattle to take on Geno Smith and the Seahawks. What are your thoughts about this game?
Okay, so like I said earlier, I do think Zach Wilson's going to start the year, but I think at some point, Bo Nix will get the start, maybe after week 4, maybe after week 6. Not totally sure, but I don't, like you said, Sean Payton doesn't start rookie quarterbacks, and I don't think this is going to be the year that he does that. So Zach Wilson will be starting this game, but I don't think Geno Smith is that great, and I don't see them beating us. Like, we almost beat them 2 years ago with Hackett. I think we're going to win this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Seahawks are one of the biggest wild cards out there, right? Because Geno Smith did play at an MVP level 2 years ago. They still got DK. They still got Tyler Lockett. They have a pretty good defense still. But the biggest wild card for the Seahawks is they got a new head coach. Nobody really knows what this new head coach, what the offense is going to look like. Even watching OTAs and camp with the Seahawks, I can't judge anything. But I do know one thing, and the Denver Broncos are not going to beat the Seahawks. I have no faith in the Denver Broncos this first 8, 9, 10 weeks of the season. It is going to be tough for you guys, and I don't care if Zach Wilson's starting. I don't care if Jarrett Stinnen's starting. I don't care if Justin Fields is starting for you guys. It's going to be a tough loss, unfortunately. Taking us into a week 2 matchup. Speaking of Russ comes back home to take on his former team that cut him. The Pittsburgh Steelers come into town. What are your thoughts about this one?
Well, I actually have tickets to this game, Mike, and I usually, when I go to the games, they lose. So I'm making this as a loss.
Well, maybe, just maybe, you should stop going to home games then. I'm just putting it out there. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be a pretty good team this season. We've already broken down the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I do have the Steelers winning this game. But I think Russ just doesn't have to suck for the Steelers. They have a top 5 defense. They have a really good running back in Najee Harris. And I'm not for sure if the defense of the Denver Broncos can hold up against that powerful Pittsburgh Steelers offense. On the bright side, you are at Mile High Stadium, and that is a true home field advantage, especially for teams that come from the coast, right? And obviously Pittsburgh's not on the coast, but it's still pretty down low to the sea. Give us the Week 3 matchup, back on the road, traveling to Florida to take on Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers.
Okay, this is another one. I think the Buccaneers, they lost a lot of pieces. They lost Devin White on the defense. I don't think their defense is going to be as good as it has been in the past years. Baker does have Mike Evans, but that's really his only weapon. I think this is going to be a win for us.
See, last year people were sleeping on the Bucs. I rode the Bucs all season long. Rode them into the playoffs. Rode them into Detroit. Baker Mayfield is the real deal. Yes, he has Mike Evans. Don't forget about Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin is the true X factor for the Buccaneers. The one thing bad about the Buccaneers is their defense is starting to age a little bit, starting to get a little long in the tooth. But Bucs at home, I like the Bucs. Give me the Bucs. Week 4, we talked about this when we broke down the Jets. This is when you chimed in saying that, hey, Zach Wilson could be the starter. Denver Broncos travel to New York Week 4 to take on the Buccaneers, or to take on the New York Football Jets. Who do you got winning this game?
I have this as a loss. I think this is going to be one of those revenge games for them. Rodgers going to be back. We don't really travel well on the East Coast. We're going to have a couple of East Coast games in that time span. I just don't see this looking good for us. I think this is going to be a loss.
Yeah, not only is this an East Coast game, not only are you going to play the New York Jets, this is a 1 o'clock kickoff game as well. So for you in Denver, Colorado, it's going to be 11 o'clock in the morning. What is the last thing I want to do at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday? Wake up and play a football game. They are going to be sluggish. The crowd's going to be rowdy. Zach Wilson is going to be back in town. They're probably going to be booing him or saying, hey, where's your hot mom, or hide your mom. You know, the memes are going to be all over the place. Unfortunately, I think the Jets win this one. I mean, not unfortunately. I got to say the Jets are a wee bit better. And right now, the Broncos are struggling right now. They're 0-4 in my eyes. You have them, what, at 2-2?
2-2, yeah.
Yeah, and it is tough. But Week 5, they travel back to Mile High Stadium, and they play a terrible Las Vegas Raiders team.
Okay, so there's a record, Mike, that we haven't beat the Raiders like the last 7 times we've played them. I'm probably wrong on that exact number, but we're going to break that streak this year, and we're going to beat the Raiders at home.
You might beat the Raiders. Of course, 16 other teams are going to beat the Raiders as well, because the Raiders are just not very good. But unfortunately, one of the Raiders' 5 wins, I have them 6 wins on the season, comes Week 5 versus the Denver Broncos. Because unfortunately, it is tough starting the season 0-4, traveling to Seattle, traveling to Tampa Bay, traveling to New York. You're finally home. You kick off your feet, and then you got a rivalry game where the Raiders just flat out hate you. And at this point, people are calling for Zach, or they're calling for a quarterback change at this particular point. Maybe calling for Sean Payton's head a little bit. It is rough sledding in Denver right now. But on the bright side, Week 6, you're still at home, and you welcome another bad team, LA Chargers, into town.
Okay, so the Chargers, we pretty much have owned the Chargers over years. I'm not worried about the Chargers. They have a new coach, Jim Harbaugh. I do think that he will turn that team around, but not this year. Like you said, they have a very bad wide receiver core. Like, he's piecing his team together, but this year they're going to struggle, and we're going to beat them.
Yeah. I think you will beat them, but just not Week 6. Week 6, you're still trying to figure yourselves out. The running game in LA at this time is starting to click, right? The Chargers have Gus Edwards. They have J.K. Dobbins. Justin Herbert's still somewhat healthy. And I just think they're a little bit too much for you guys. And 0-6, I think, is a real possibility. And
you are killing me, Mike.
And you are hoping for a bye week, but bye week's not for another 2 months in the season. So week 14. Week 7, you play a familiar foe. You play Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints at Mercedes Superdome.
Okay, so according to mine, we beat the Raiders, we beat the Chargers, both at home.
Yep.
Then we go to New Orleans. This is going to be a homecoming for Sean. This is going to be another win. We're going to go on a 4-game winning streak.
Whoa. 4 games in a row versus 2 division rivals versus two former teams. People always tell me to put down the crack pipe. Like, I think you might need to come down to sea level to check your altitude because I don't see the Broncos hanging with the Saints. However, we talked about bad receiver cores. The Saints have a pretty bad receiver core too. Michael Thomas is no longer there. Chris Olave is really their only threat. Alvin Kamara, is he even going to be eligible? He keeps punching people in Vegas every time he gets out. But I think this is a good game. I think this is a knockout, drag-out game, and it's going to come down to the final field goal. But the Saints win it. 0-7, man.
And see, I think Sean Payton really knows Dennis Allen. So, like you said, it's going to be a good game. But I think you're wrong, Mike. I think Sean's going to get that homecoming win.
It would be nice because, if they're on a 4-game winning streak at the particular points, in your eyes, things are looking pretty good. Things are looking up because then you welcome Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers back into town week 8.
Oh, that's a win. I think the Carolina Panthers are terrible. Like, they are building. I don't think Bryce Young is that great of a quarterback. Nope. And honestly, dude, I think their owner is a complete piece of shit. And so I really hope we beat them, and I think we will.
Yeah, I mean, really the only bright spot about the Carolina Panthers are Adam Thielen. I think he is probably one of the most slept-on receivers in the NFL, especially going into the 2024 NFL season. He did have 1,000 yards last season, but I did have the Carolina Panthers beating the Kansas City Chiefs earlier this week. But I do think the Broncos do win this game. I think the Broncos finally get their first win over the Carolina Panthers. And these next few games might shock you because I have the Broncos kind of getting hot, and they continue that hot streak, I believe, versus week 9 when they travel to Baltimore, and they do beat the Baltimore Ravens week 9. 2 wins and a little win for me. What are your thoughts?
And you want to tell me that I'm smoking crack? Come on, Mike. Okay, so we kind of have opposite feelings. I feel like we're gonna go on this win streak, and then it's gonna turn, and we're gonna derail, and we're gonna lose to Baltimore. We never play well in Baltimore. That's another early start time. We just don't play well there. Lamar Jackson runs all over us every time. That's a loss.
Well, unfortunately, the Baltimore Ravens also always overlook weaker opponents every year. Somewhere along the line, somebody comes up and bites them in the ass, and I think week 9 is perfect to come up and bite them in the ass. Lamar Jackson's overrated. It is what it is. Week 10, you're still on the road. This time you travel to Arrowhead. Last year you guys did beat the Kansas City Chiefs on your 5-game winning streak. It started your 5-game winning streak. In my eyes, right now, you're on a 2-game winning streak. Wins versus the Panthers, wins versus the Ravens. Can the Broncos upset the Kansas City Chiefs week 10 at Arrowhead?
We never play well at Arrowhead, dude. Actually, I should tell you, Mike, this is one of the games on my bucket list that I've been wanting to go to at some point in my life. I will go to a game at Arrowhead there and rep my orange in front of all your fans someday. And it's just a tough crowd. I think this isn't being another loss for us.
Yeah, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are just too much for you guys, unfortunately, especially at home, 1 o'clock game, early November. Let me tell you a great story. My first NFL game was a Christmas Day game. I believe it was 2017, 2018. Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos. It was Alex Smith was the quarterback. Travis Kelce was still really much unknown. Tyreek Hill was pretty much unknown at that point still. Dontari Poe threw a touchdown in that pass to really seal that deal. So that was my first NFL game, and if you want to go to Arrowhead, man, I will make the 8-hour drive there, and we'll meet up, and we'll definitely hang out. And we'll have a good time.
Yes, let's do it, dude. I want to try some of that good-ass barbecue I've been hearing about.
Tailgating at Kansas City, you will not go hungry. I'll tell you that 100%.
All right, well, let's plan it, Mike.
But back at home, back in Mile High Stadium, Week 11, you guys welcome Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons into town. An Atlanta Falcons team that I think a lot of people are kind of overestimating, to be honest. What are your thoughts about this game?
I think people are hyping them way too much. Look, they have a new coach, new quarterback, a lot of changes. So I think they're going to eventually be good, but I don't think it's just going to happen right away. And I think after coming off 2 losses to Baltimore and Kansas City, we're going to come home and we're going to get this win against Atlanta.
Yeah, it would not shock me one bit either. If the Atlanta Falcons are in some type of quarterback controversy going into Week 11, because they did draft Michael Penix Jr. They actually moved up in the draft, way up in the draft, to draft him. Well, he was in the first round draft pick, if I'm not mistaken. So if the Falcons are going to be the way I think they're going to be Week 11, there might be that quarterback change, and Michael Penix Jr. just may not be ready for the spotlight at Mile High Stadium. It's a tough place to play. Let's just be honest. It is a tough place to play at Mile High, and I like the Broncos as well in this game.
All right.
Giving us a Week 12 matchup, a rematch of the Raiders just from a few weeks ago, but this is Week 12 at Allegiant Stadium here. What are your thoughts?
For some reason, I feel like we have lost to the Raiders so many times before, and this year I think we're going to finally get our win at home. But I think we will lose there, and we'll split it with them.
Yeah, I concur with this. I think at this point the Raiders are probably starting Gardner Minshew or maybe getting a quarterback off the street. I think the Raiders are in that quarterback turmoil as well.
Oh, yeah.
But they do find that mojo, like that Gardner Minshew magic for whatever reason, and they do win this game, giving us a Week 13 game. This is a Monday night game. How did the Broncos get on Monday night? I don't know, but they're at home on Monday night, taking on Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, Mike, we got 2 primetime games. Hey, it's something. Yeah. We'll take it. I know it's just, hey, we deserve something. We're good on Monday night.
Listen, I'd rather watch the Broncos on primetime than the Jets like 6 times in the first 8 weeks. So,
all right. Okay, Cleveland at home. This one I kind of went back and forth on, Buck. Like, we've kind of owned the Browns over the years, especially the fumble, the drive.
Yep.
I'm sure they hate us. But I think this is going to be a loss for us.
Yeah. And I think the opposite. I think the Cleveland Browns are a really good team. They have a really good defense. They have a hell of an offense. Nick Chubb is a beast. But just like when you guys played the Ravens, I think the Broncos kind of elevate their game for this game. Monday Night Football at home. Bo Nix is probably chomping at the bits to get in there because you had the bye week the next week. So there's a lot of energy, a lot of buzz around the team. And I do think the Broncos do win this game going into the bye week, Week 14. This is the week that I do think that they make the quarterback change to Bo Nix, because I don't think they have any shot at the playoffs at this particular time. I mean, they might have an outside shot, but I think this is where you get your quarterback's feet wet. You see what you have, right? Do we need to go to the draft? Do we need to do this, and this? But you are kind of on the opposite. I think you're sitting about 7 wins right now, right? 8 wins?
Yeah, I'm at 7 right now.
7 wins. So, with that being said, how are you looking at this Week 14 off? Like, quarterback change, wide receiver, possibly I guess the trades have already passed that, like, at that point, but needed by
honestly, Mike, dude, it's brutal. Like, to have the Week 14, I think if we were a playoff team, Week 14 probably be ideal to have. Like, you play all those games and then you get a rest right before the playoffs. But in our case, we've won in my scenario, we've won 7 games. Probably not going to be a playoff team. Yeah, so it's brutal, dude. It really is.
Yeah, there are 2 terrible bye weeks, right? Week 4 and Week 15 are probably the 2 worst bye weeks in all of the NFL. Week 14 is probably right up there as well. Give us a Week 15 matchup at home versus the Indianapolis Colts.
I think with the bye week and possibly Bo Nix getting prepared, and like I kind of agree with you that he might start after during this game, and I think with that extra time, we're gonna win. We're gonna beat Indy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Colts have the week off prior to you guys as well, and I think the Colts are going to be pretty good. I think Anthony Richardson is the real deal. Michael Pittman Jr. just got his deal. JT just got his deal. I think the Colts are going to be in there to really wreak some havoc, and I actually do have the Broncos winning this game. I think the Broncos are kind of this is. I feel this is going to be the Broncos' MO all season long. Is they're going to step up to those big games, to the Chiefs, to the Ravens, to the Browns and Colts. Right? They're going to step up to those big games and play them competitively. But then they're going to look like dog crap versus the Chargers and the Raiders and the Panthers. You'd be like, why can't we play this good when we play these guys? And it could be a totally different season. Speaking of a bad team, the Chargers, you travel to SoFi week 16 and Justin Herbert and the boys.
Okay, Mike, I'm not totally sure you know this, but when we go and travel to LA, that's like a home game for the Broncos. We have a ton of fans that go to that game every year. Chargers don't have a fan base. Our fan base is always usually there. I'm saying that's a win.
Yeah, it would not shock me either. But unfortunately, Mark, I don't know if you know this, but the every team that the Chargers play at home is basically a road game for the Chargers. Just for whatever reason, when the Chargers, Rams, and Raiders were all in LA, they had more visitors at the stadium than they do there. It's just stupid, honestly. But it was
the same way in San Diego though too. We used to overcrowd their stadium too.
Well, I mean, you do have a direct flight from LA to Denver, right? So that helps. But yeah, I mean, I definitely get it. But week 17 game here, you're back on the road, taking on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay, so me and Wayne constantly debate on our show. He doesn't like Joe Burrow. I really like Joe Burrow. And as we were talking about Anthony Richardson, Wayne really likes him, and I don't think he's going to be all that great. I think he's really hyped up. I think he's just a physical specimen, and that's why he got drafted. But let's see what he really does when he can stay healthy.
Right.
With Joe Burrow, I think he's going to have a phenomenal year this year. He's going to be healthy. I'm kind of worried about his wrist injury that he said that they don't know for sure it's going to be fully healed, if it's going to affect him during the season. So I really hope that for him that he's healthy. So in my scenario, he will be healthy, and him and the Cincinnati Bengals and the Chiefs are going to be fighting for the number 1 seed. So they're going to do everything they can to beat us, so we're going to lose. Yeah,
Joe Burrow is one of the most fragile quarterbacks in the NFL. We talk about, Lamar Jackson always getting hurt and other quarterbacks always getting hurt. Joe Burrow gets hurt just as much as the rest of the quarterbacks as those top names there. It seems like every year he's missing a couple games. And when he doesn't go, the Bengals normally don't go either. But however, I do think he will be healthy in this game. I think the Bengals will be clicking at the right time. But once again, the MO of the Broncos all season long, they step up to these big games. They've already beaten the Browns. They've already beaten the Ravens, and they're not going to beat the Bengals. Unfortunately, the Bengals just too much power for them. The passing game is very, very powerful at home for the Bengals, and I think the Bengals win this game. It's a close game, 17-13, maybe 20-17, last-second points here, but I do think the Bengals pull it out, giving us the Week 18 matchup at home to end the season versus Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, so in my scenario, Mike, this could go two ways, I think. I think if the Chiefs have the number 1 seed locked up, they're not going to play any of their guys, and it might be an easy win for the Broncos. But if they're fighting for that number 1 seed, they're going to do everything they can to beat us. But I think it's going to be the latter, and they're going to beat us.
Yeah, I think the Kansas City Chiefs have to play this Week 18 game as well. Not because I don't think they're going to be a 9-10 win team. I think they're going to be a 12-win team this season. But this final Week 18 game is going to catapult them into that top overall seed going into the playoffs. So this is a must win for them. And the Denver Broncos are kind of like, right? I mean, yeah, it is a division game. Yeah, you want to win, but at the same time, it's at Mile High. January, cold. Really don't want to be outside. Really don't want to be outside for very long. So let's go ahead and just wrap this thing up real quick here. And I do think the Chiefs win this game. So I ultimately have the Denver Broncos going 5-12 this season. What do you have them at?
I have them at 9-8, just on the cusp of barely being over 500. It's one more win that we had last year, and it's a steady, slowly improvement for Sean Payton.
Okay, so you have them one game better than last season. Where on the roster did they get one game better in your eyes then?
I think now that Sean Payton has his guy or his guys or whoever he decides on, like I was saying, he was handcuffed. His offense was all last year with Russ. I'm really curious to see when it fully opened. All those times when I used to see Drew Brees just sling it all over the yard. Granted, it was kind of boring, but it was efficient. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, so you think another year, Sean Payton, his offense, his guys, whatever, that's an extra win. Have you thought
so, yes.
Have you thought maybe Sean Payton was carried by Drew Brees and those 3-4 years off that he had? Well, how long did he retire? Was it 2 years off? Maybe he's lost touch with his guys. Do you think Sean Payton is still the man, the myth, the legend that we saw in New Orleans, or is he just kind of overrated a little bit?
Honestly, Mike, I don't know. Like, I've only got to see 1 year with him here, and that was with Russ, and so it wasn't even his guy. So this is like a true test this year because he's got a guy that he likes, that he handpicked. Well, 3 guys that he handpicked. Hopefully one of them will work out. Like, as a Bronco fan, Mike, I have to hope that it's going to bake out and it's going to work and that he's still the old Sean Payton.
Right. So is he on a short leash then? Like, I mean, he has guaranteed, $100 million or whatever deal that he got for 6 years, 8 years. Is he on a short leash, or because the Broncos are still paying Russ all that money, are they stuck with Sean Payton, do you think?
I don't think they are. I think the Walton Penner group, I think they're the type that they'll make the move if they really think that he's not the guy. But I think drafting Bo Nix, they're going to give him a little leeway to see what he can do with this kid. And like we were saying in our scenario, he doesn't even start until week 14 or week 15.
Right.
So that's not even a good sample size to see him. So I think Sean at least has a couple years.
So one of the big things that I've talked about Chargers fans this offseason was their general manager, Joe Ortiz. Joe Ortiz was a former Baltimore Ravens general manager, and he made 7-8 big in-season trades, to really boost that roster up. Can you see Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos making a trade to really boost that receiver core by the Halloween trade deadline?
I do. I kind of keep thinking Mike Thomas. Maybe Sean Payton's been talking to him. Who knows? He hasn't signed with anybody, and I think maybe he's just waiting for the right fit. He probably sees us as not a team like, oh, it's the Broncos. I'm not going to the Broncos. We're not going to win. Like, he probably wants to go somewhere and win. But I think him and Sean have a relationship, and I think maybe that might sway him here. Sean has brought a lot of former New Orleans people to the Broncos.
Right.
And I could see Michael Thomas being another one.
And so do you think Michael Thomas will come in and instantly take that number 1 spot from Cortland, or is he going to be like a number 2 guy? What do you think?
Well, depending on his health, I think that question is to be answered by his health. If he's healthy, I see him being number 1. But if he's still like nagging injuries, he'll be the number 2 guy.
All right. Well, we will see. Unfortunately, I don't think Michael Thomas was ever injured. I think it was just a way to get out of New Orleans with somewhat of a unscathed record. I get, fighting teammates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Mark, that is going to be it for tonight's show. Before we go, tell the people where they can find your podcast, where they can follow you, and all the good stuff.
Yes, check me and Wayne G out. We are the NFL Experts. You can find us NFL Experts Pod on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. We recently have had some trouble doing our live stream on Facebook. They change the rules, and you have to have over 100 followers to do live streams. So please, anyone out there that likes our opinions and our expertise, please give us a follow so we can get back on Facebook. But we will still post it there. We will have a show tomorrow night. We do it every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
All right, guys. So that is my man, Mark from the NFL Experts Podcast. Be sure to check them out. Link is down in the description below. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. We out.